Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. Today, it's Fountain Pen Showdown Day. We're going to take a look at these two pens. We've got a Pilot Custom Heritage 92 and a Wingsung 698. Both these pens have got 14 karat gold nibs. Be interesting to compare them. I think they look very similar from my first glances. So join me now, down on the mat. We'll take a look at the pens, do some size comparisons, weights and measures, writing sample, then I'll give you my thoughts on these pens. Here we are down on the table. We've got the Wingsung 698, that's in this gorgeous transparent black. There we go, just a quick spin around it. And we've also got the Pilot Custom Heritage 92, also in this gorgeous transparent black. Let's take a walk through the bodies. What I'm going to do here is focus on where we've got differences. So let's pop them next to each other just for an initial look. The Wingsung 698, ever so slightly longer. It's also slightly wider. We've got silver trims on both pens. If we take a look at the tops, so I've got the Wingsung 698 and the Pilot Custom Heritage 92. The Wingsung 698, we've got this silver top. It's got a little bit of engraving there on the top, like a sun, like rays coming out of the sun, I would say. Whereas the Pilot Custom Heritage 92, it's just the same black transparent resin. We come down into the caps. So the caps slightly wider on the Wingsung 698. The Wingsung 698 is coming straight all the way down till we get to the trim ring. There we've got wings. Then on the back we've got some Chinese characters and then the number 698. It's a wider band. We then carry on down and then have a sharp drop off down to the body. With the Pilot Custom Heritage 92, we've got a tapering out. So we're tapering out until we get to the bottom of the clip. We then go straight. Here we've got a more elaborate band. So let's just go around. We've got Pilot there, that's on the side. Japan. Then we've got Custom, Heritage, and then 92. We then taper down towards the body. So there's this attention for detail in the way it tapers, and I do like that. The attention to detail makes a lot of difference, doesn't it? Clips, very springy on the 92. Bit stiffer, but still quite springy, still quite usable. The clips themselves, slightly different shapes. Bit of a, I would say maybe a sword type shape on the Custom Heritage 92. Whereas here on the Wingsung, we've got a little bit of engraving. There we go. It says Lucky. But other than that, not much to shout about really either of them clips. We come down into the body. So the body, we'll start with the 698. Same width all the way down till we come to this silver coloured ring. Wider ring as well, as you can see there next to the 92. Same transparent black. Same piston filling type mechanism, so we're using up roughly half of the body with the piston filler. One thing I do like with this, and it's something that stumps me, you have to remember to work the mechanism, it's actually got a little bit of a lock. So to work it, you need to pull the cap out ever so slightly, then it will twist properly. If I push that back down, that locks in place, makes it very difficult to twist. Do not have that on the 92. So that is one thing I think on the 92 would be nice to have that same lock. So the body here, again, we're going straight on up. Feels like there's a slight tapering from about halfway down. Got a thinner silver ring. Then we've got the piston mechanism. Again, not going to work that mechanism because there's ink in the pen. But all in all, very, very similar looking pens. Main difference, the 698 slightly longer, slightly wider. Let's take the caps off. So we go half, one. Let's do that again. Half, one. One turn on the Wingsung 698. On the Pilot Custom Heritage 92, half, one, one and a half. about 1 3/4 turns on the Pilot Custom Heritage 92. And that then brings us to the nibs. The nibs both look roughly the same size. So the Pilot one, that's a Pilot number 5 size nib. And then here we've got this gold coloured. This is the Wingsung nib. Both nibs 14 karat gold. The Pilot Custom Heritage 92, the nib on there is rhodium plated. Looking at the Wingsung 698, we've got some nice engraving on there. We've then got the word lucky and the word 14K. This is a fine point nib. Quite a nice looking nib. I do like the gold coloured nibs. Looking next door at the Pilot Custom Heritage 92, so as I say, it's rhodium plated. We've got a nice decorative border. Then we've got Pilot. Then we've got the gold content, so we've got 14K or 585. Number 5, which is the nib width. And then we've got medium. This is a medium nib. Down at the bottom, so down near here, there's some numbers. From that, you can actually work out when the nib was actually manufactured. Let's swap on over and we'll do some size comparisons. Here's my standard comparisons. Pilot Metropolitan, Lamy Safari. If we're looking at it, the Safari and the Wingsung 698, very similar in terms of size. The Pilot Metropolitan and the Pilot Custom Heritage 92, also fairly similar in size, aren't they? Let me just pop these back in the order. Let's take a look at these unposted. Unposted, it's a very similar story. The two Pilots, very similar in length, and the Wingsung and the Safari, again, similar in length. In the hand, we'll start here with the Wingsung. The Wingsung 698 is very nice unposted. Section, a little teeny bit on the thin side. We'll look at measurements in a minute. This pen, though, does not post, so you have to use it unposted. If I try and post it, it's coming straight off. Does not post at all. But unposted, I find this very nice and comfortable to use. With the Pilot Custom Heritage 92, thinner pen, you can tell that, you can feel that. It's just about right unposted. You can see there, fits quite nicely. I do find that it does feel a little bit small to me, so I tend to use this one posted. The cap doesn't add too much back weight to it, and it does feel quite nice when it's posted. Let's swap on over and we'll look at some pens in roughly the same price range. The two pens I've brought in a TWSBI Diamond 580, and that was 72 Aussie dollars. I've got the Wingsung 698 gold nib, 14 karat gold nib, 74 Aussie dollars. We've got the Pilot Custom Heritage 92 14 karat gold nib, 335 Aussie dollars. And I've also brought in a Visconti Van Gogh, and that one was 343 Aussie dollars. So there's a definite big price difference between the pens. Does that show though when we come to the writing? We'll find out soon. Let's pop the caps back on them. With the caps on, the Pilot, that's just a little bit shorter than the others. The others, very much of a muchness in terms of length. Let's swap on over and fetch in the rule of measuring. Here we've got the rule of measuring. We'll start with the Wingsung 698. So with the cap on, this comes in at 14.2 centimetres. Unposted, we're looking at 13 centimetres. As I've already shown, doesn't post. The width of the body at its widest part, which is about here, that comes in at 1.28 centimetres. The cap, this one comes in at 1.38 centimetres. And the section from the shortest at 0.93 up to 1.07 centimetres. I say not the widest section, but comfortable enough to use. With the Pilot Custom Heritage 92. So with the cap on, 13.6 centimetres. Without the cap, let's just line this up. There we're talking about 12.2 centimetres. Posted, that's 15.2 centimetres. The width of the body, Here we're talking about 1.19 centimetres. The cap, 1.41 centimetres. And the section goes from 0.98. So it's actually slightly wider at the widest point. And it goes up to 1.06, which is about the same. But when I look at these, I do always think this looks thinner than what I see with the Wingsung 698. Let's fetch in the scales of weigh-in. Here we've got the scales of weigh-in, again starting with the Wingsung 698. 25 grams for the whole pen. Remember, we do have some ink. 13 grams for the body, 13 grams for the cap. With the Pilot, 22 grams, a lighter pen. Only a little bit, but you can notice it. Again, remember, we do have ink in here. Body, 13 grams, so about the same. The cap, 8 grams. The cap a lot lighter. Let's swap on over, fetch in the notepad of testing. Just dropping in to interrupt your regular programming. Would you like to help support the channel? If so, please consider joining as a member. As a member, you'll get early access to my videos. I normally upload them a couple of days before they go out, and as soon as they're uploaded, they'll be released to members. There'll also be a shout out at the end of the videos, and then as we get the members coming in, we'll actually chat among ourselves and work out what other perks, what other things you'd like me to add in. You know, would you like maybe a monthly live chat just for members? All down to us. So please, if you can, consider joining the channel. A link will be in the description down below. Here we've got the notepad of testing. This is Oxford Optic paper in a black and red A5 notebook. We'll start by doing some writing. Before I do some writing, I'm just going to fetch in another pen to show you. So this is the Wingsung 698. As I say, this has got a gold nib, 14 karat gold. You can also get a Wingsung 698 with a steel nib. When I actually bought these, I bought the steel nib on here and the gold nib on this one, but they're really easy to swap. Take the caps off, you can have a quick look. So there we go. There's the two nibs. Turn them over. The plastic feed's very similar. This steel nibbed version is an awful lot cheaper. It's about a third of the price. So now we've got the cap off, why don't we do some writing? So we've got here a Wingsung 698. This has got a fine 14 karat gold nib. As I've already said, cost wise, you're looking at 81 Aussie dollars. The ink is by Diamine and it's Monboddos hat. Nice dark purple ink. Drying times, so we go immediate. 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute. That's dry there after a minute. I'm going to look for some line variation, so this is going very light. Now I'm going to add pressure. And this is one of the things I struggle with this pen. It's very, very sensitive to pressure. You can get line variation, but you very easily get railroading and it actually runs out of ink. As you can see there, it stopped writing. Little shake usually gets it going again. So here's no pressure. That's with some, none, with, none, with, none, with. Going to move the mic down to the page and write a sentence. As long as I'm not putting pressure on it, it's very enjoyable to work with. It's got a little bit of bounciness to it, and that's where it needs to be carefully thought about, because I find with this, it's easy for me to put too much pressure on it. Final test, flow test. Again, I'm not putting any pressure on the nib at all, just letting it glide over the paper. Just here, and literally, if I show you, I've got my hand You know, we get a line out of it with no pressure on that nib at all. I enjoy writing with this pen as long as I'm thinking about it. So it's a pen I need to be concentrating on what I'm doing. That's the downside, because it takes me out of what I'm meant to be concentrating, which is actually on taking notes, on putting my thoughts down onto paper. I shouldn't be having to think about how I'm doing it. And that's one of the things that does let this pen down. Let's just move the page up a bit. And we'll do a writing sample now with the Pilot Custom Heritage 92. So we've got here a Pilot. I'm going to write unposted, as you can see. Custom Heritage 92. Some medium 14 karat gold and 335 Aussie dollars. Quite a long name to write, isn't it? The ink is by Colorverse and it's Able. Love the name of this. Really nice colour. I want to call it like a dirty green type colour. Drying times, so we go immediate, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute. Still smudging a little teeny bit there at a minute, but not worth doing a 2-minute test. We'll move the mic down to the page and write a sentence. This time I'm going to use the pen Posted. That's got a really nice soft nib. There's a nice bounce to it. Really pleasurable to write with. Let's just do a flow test. Keeps flowing really well. This pen is very pleasurable to write with. Only downside, to be honest, it just feels a bit on the thin side. It's got a really nice, I love the sponginess, the softness of the nib on this though. It just feels like it's part of your hand that's writing. Very, very nice. So what are my thoughts and scores for these pens? Let's start with pen looks. The pens, very, very similar, aren't they? Main difference is the size. I would say the material on the Winston 698 slightly darker. I do struggle to see my ink levels here on the 698, whereas I can see it a lot easier on the 92. But they're both nice looking. I like the fact that they've got the silver trims. I'm going to give them both an 8 out of 10. Build quality, they both feel solid, had no issues. Dead easy to change the nib. Dead easy to clean out. I do pull the nib out on this a couple of times to give it a good cleaning. Both solid feeling. This one feels this one is not very descriptive, is that? The Custom Heritage 92 does feel lighter. You can see that already in the weights anyway. But yeah, both very nice. Both 8 out of 10 for build quality. Writing experience. This is where we start to see some differences. The Winston 698 at $81. It writes okay as long as you're not putting any pressure on the nib. As soon as you put a little bit of pressure on it, really struggles, get a load of railroading. But if you're being very, very careful, very thoughtful, you can get some nice line variation, as we see here. I've also got some nice shading coming through there as well. With the Pilot Custom Heritage 92, consistence. Consistence, consistence. That's the key word. It writes really well all the time. I have had a couple of little issues, not with this ink, but I had a couple of issues with a previous ink. The problem was, though, it had been sat in the pen for about 6 months. I think the issue was more that the ink would had some evaporation and that made the ink too viscous. Most of the time, though, no issues with this. Because of the issues with having to think about what I'm doing with the writing, I can only give the Winston 698 a 7 out of 10. Whereas here, with the Pilot Custom Heritage 92, that's an 8 out of 10. Fetching my Tomoe River notebook, when we look at the ink flow. So this is with the Winsung 698, Tomoe River, 52 GSM paper. The Monboddos hat, this is something I'll call out every time I use this ink. I'm forever getting my B's and my D's mixed up. As we're going through writing, we've got a nice colour. We can see we have got line variation coming through. I was having to think about it as I was writing. That's the only thing I can really complain about it. Got some nice feedback. It's similar to the 3776 when you've got no pressure on it, but with a little bit of pressure, you do start to get that softness to it. Yeah, nice dark purple ink. If we jump over and we'll look at the Custom Heritage 92. So this is with Colorverse Able. Loads of shading coming through in this ink. Love the way it looks. I love the look of the pen. It's got character to it. You know, yes, it's a plain black, but that transparency just fetches a little bit of the next level to it. I love the way this ink looks on the paper. I love the way the nib performs. Of all my Pilot pens, I've got to be honest, I think this is the nib I prefer. It's really, really nice, that little bit of softness to it. Ink flow, going to give them both 8 out of 10. Pen comfort. Again, not really much in it. The only key thing is slightly wider looking pen. But as we saw when we looked at the sections, although the sections look wider, the section is actually about the same size. They both feel thin. This one, the Pilot Custom Heritage 92, does feel a little bit on the short side, but posted, very, very nice. Going to give for comfort, both of them get 8 out of 10. Value for money. So this one is where it's very difficult. I'm not going to give you value for money comparing them against each other. Comparing them against each other, I can get, 3 Winsung 698s with the gold nib for the price of 1 Pilot Custom Heritage 92. You can't really compare them price-wise against each other because they're completely different beasts. When we look based on how it's performing, I think they're both actually not bad value. Yes, I need to think about it when I'm writing with this one. Do you know something? I know I've been complaining about it, but sometimes it's nice because by thinking about it, you're actually getting more into the enjoyment of the actual writing as opposed to the note-taking. With the Custom Heritage 92, one of my cheaper gold nibbed pens, obviously not as cheap as the Winsung 698. It looks nice. It's a pen I can take anywhere. I have no qualms with pulling it out in a meeting and starting writing notes. What I'm going to do, because I'm going to say value for money against what the price of the pen is, I'm going to give them both 8 out of 10. So that means I get a total score of 7.83 for the Winsung 698 and Diamine Monboddos hat, and 8 for the Pilot Custom Heritage 92 with Colorverse Able. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I'm quite surprised how similar these pens do look. Yes, I know there are some slight differences. And also though, the big difference in the writing experience, maybe that's a difference between the cheaper Chinese made pens and the more expensive Japanese ones, is the quality of the writing experience. What are your thoughts on these pens? Have you got any similar ones? Please drop any comments down below. Let's kickstart the conversation. Please hit the thumbs up button. Every time you like, every time you comment, just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.